The story begins in Australia with Greg, a Canadian, and Heather, a girl from the UK. They are both tourists who happen to be staying at the same hostel. Today, they decide to experience Tucker's experience, an adventure tour advertised as offering dramatic shark encounters. However, they didn't make a reservation, and now the surroundings are eerily quiet, with only an old man on a nearby boat. His name is Deep, and he seems excited to share crazy stories about shark attacks, which frightens the young couple. Rick and Hazel don't find the creepy jokes funny at all and are about to give up when Tucker shows up. He introduces himself and is pleased to learn that the two aren't a couple. Heather smiles when the captain flirts with her. Greg apologizes for not booking in advance, explaining that their original plan was to go to a water park, but they had too much to drink last night and slept in. Tucker says it's no big deal and then asks if it means no one knows they're here. Both of them find the comment a bit odd, but quickly realize it's just a joke, as Tucker adds that they should write their wills beforehand, since this tour is incredibly dangerous. Greg is excited to swim with sharks, while Heather feels a bit anxious. The three of them set off, and Tucker starts telling a story about a shark attack he survived as a child, complete with a newspaper article as proof. He also mentions that the bite didn't bother him much, despite the huge scar it left on his body. When they reach the diving spot, Greg tries to reassure Heather, who nearly backs out after seeing the shark fin pop up. Tucker suggests they hold hands and close their eyes to meditate, calling it an ancient sea ritual. While meditating, he starts singing Baby Shark, which makes Heather laugh and feel more at ease. Afterwards, they enter a metal cage and dive into the ocean, surrounded by a school of sharks. Heather is once again terrified, but with Greg by her side, she manages to push through. Gradually, she starts to appreciate the mesmerizing beauty of the ocean. After the tour ends, Tucker pulls them back onto the boat. Greg continuously thanks him for the experience, but their dream quickly turns into a nightmare when Tucker suddenly pulls out a knife and attacks Greg for no apparent reason, then pushes him into the sea, leaving Heather in absolute terror. Not far from there is the Gold Coast, where an American girl named Jeffy is surfing. Afterward, she comes ashore and enters a convenience store to buy something. There, she runs into Moses, a guy who is having trouble with his car battery. He needs a cable to jumpstart the battery but doesn't have one. After paying for her items, Jeffy heads out to the parking lot, pours some water into the trash, and pulls out a hidden jar of ice cream to eat, clearly trying to avoid paying for it. Soon after, she bumps into Moses again and tries to act casual, but he's seen everything and vaguely hints that he will report her to the store if she doesn't lend him a jumpstart cable. When Jeffy reacts angrily, Moses changes his tone, explaining that he's walked a long distance under the sun with no luck in finding what he needs. Moses then asks if he can get a ride back to his car. During the ride, they talk a little, and we learn that Moses is a real estate agent. Although their initial encounter is somewhat awkward, and their personalities are quite different, they gradually become closer through their shared passion for surfing. They even discover that they have similar taste in music. Eventually, Jeffy opens up and gives Moses a chance, spending the night with him. However, while Moses develops strong feelings and tries to cook for her, Jeffy isn't one to get attached to anyone. She leaves right after breakfast is ready. It's only when she stops at the beach that she remembers she's left behind Pinky, a small hex tool used to unscrew the fins on her surfboard. At Moses' place, noticing a truck parked nearby, Jeffy decides to borrow it and promises to return it later. She's startled when the truck's owner returns, and it's Tucker, smiling at her. He offers her a Pinky, saying he has plenty and compliments her courage for surfing alone so early in the morning. Jeffy responds by pointing out that he's also alone and thanks him before going back to adjust her surfboard. Later, Moses sends Jeffy a photo of the meal he made, asking if he can go surfing with her. Initially, Jeffy types a response, but then changes her mind, replying coldly that the sea belongs to everyone and anyone can surf. Before she even gets to see Moses' reply, she is suddenly attacked by Tucker from behind. He covers her head with a plastic bag, choking her until she passes out, then injects her with a sedative to keep her from waking up too soon. Afterward, he tapes her mouth shut, stuffs her into a surfboard bag, and drives her to a dock. The old man Deep's dog starts barking loudly when Tucker arrives, but Tucker just glances at it, threatening it before taking his prey to the boat's hold. Meanwhile, Moses hasn't given up on winning Jeffy over. He finds her van parked near the beach and calls her, unaware that she's been kidnapped. Moments later, Jeffy wakes up with tape over her mouth and her wrists chained to a bed. In panic, she tears the tape off her mouth and sees another girl chained to the bed next to hers. It's Heather. Heather explains that they are being held in a small compartment on Tucker's boat and apologizes for the foul smell coming from a bucket of water. She reveals that she's been locked in here for a while. This only frightens Jeffy more, and she screams for help, but Heather cries and insists that no one can hear them. Indeed, Tucker's boat is out in the middle of the ocean, with no boats nearby. They are locked in a storage compartment, which has a warning sign stating it should always be kept closed to avoid accidents. Jeffy begins to feel a spark of hope when she realizes that she has skills that might help them escape. The two of them start searching for sharp objects to unlock their cuffs. Although Jeffy's strength encourages Heather, she becomes even more frightened when she notices other women's names written on the wall. This clue suggests that they are not the first victims, and perhaps those who came before them didn't make it out. While Tucker calmly fishes on the deck, Jeffy asks Heather if anyone is looking for her. Heather's answer is not hopeful, as she says no one even remembers her. Unbeknownst to them, Moses is still thinking about her after seeing her van being towed away. Realizing this might be trouble, he immediately goes to the police station. However, when the officer learns that Jeffy is a nomadic surfer and Moses has only known her for less than a day, the officer just asks a few routine questions to complete a report. Back with Jeffy, she kicks at the bed frame repeatedly in an attempt to free herself, while Heather complains about not listening to her mother. Her mother had warned her against taking a year off to travel, fearing that terrible things might happen to her daughter while traveling alone. Moreover, this trip delayed her graduation, career, and marriage plans. Jeffy remains firm in her beliefs, telling Heather that the life she leads is the one that suits her mother, not her, and that everyone must follow their own path. Heather asks about Jeffy's family, and she shares that she grew up in an orphanage in the US until she decided to leave and go far away. While they're talking, Jeffy notices the wire of Heather's bikini top and quickly removes it to take the metal rod inside. Jeffy starts picking the lock when they suddenly hear footsteps approaching, forcing her to hide the rod. Tucker walks in with some food for the captives, hesitating between drinking water to quench his thirst or sticking to his plan. If he realizes she's not wearing a top, he might get suspicious. Finally, thirst wins, and Jeffy immediately distracts Tucker by boldly demanding the food. He falls for it and begins lecturing her about predators, claiming that on his boat, there is only one alpha. As soon as he leaves, Jeffy hands Heather her top and hurriedly opens the lock. But then, she suddenly breaks into a cold sweat and feels dizzy when Heather collapses. Jeffy realizes the water must have been drugged. Tucker returns, immediately takes the metal rod from her, and waits for Jeffy to pass out. She wakes up to find herself cuffed to a chair on the boat deck, with Heather hanging from a crane. While Tucker prepares his camera, he starts lecturing about sharks, the most powerful creatures on the planet. He cuts a lock of Heather's hair, now starting to regain consciousness, and operates the crane to lift her toward the water. Jeffy is horrified to realize that he intends to feed Heather to the sharks. Heather screams and struggles as the crane slowly lowers her closer to the water, while Tucker films the whole horrifying scene. Just then, a shark lunges up and bites Heather. Tucker doesn't forget to film the gruesome sight of her being viciously mauled, and even captures Jeffy's horrified reaction on the tape. When Jeffy was brought back to the lower compartment, she noticed many other names written under the old paint on the walls. Meanwhile, Tucker celebrated his madness with a twisted dance, carefully storing the lock of hair and tape in a cabinet full of previous meal records. He put Jeffy's name on a tag, ready for the next sacrifice. The next day, Heather's head had drifted far from the boat, while Moses' mind was still consumed with thoughts of Jeffy, especially when he found part of her surfboard floating. When Tucker brought food down, Jeffy angrily kicked the tray and told him to look in the mirror, because he looked more like a bug or ocean trash than a shark. Despite his anger, Tucker kept his composure, only mocking her about the bucket, as if reminding her she was the one who should be ashamed. He didn't realize that it was his words that sparked Jeffy's idea. As soon as she was alone, she started dismantling the bucket to use a piece of the handle as a weapon. On the deck, Tucker ate while watching the footage of Heather's death, preparing the next syringe. Tucker returned to the boat and saw Jeffy sleeping, approaching her to inject the drug. Unexpectedly, she stabbed him in the neck, quickly snatched the keyring, and managed to unlock her cuffs. She intended to take Tucker's knife, but he woke up. Jeffy rushed outside and ran up the stairs, but Tucker quickly caught up and injected her in the leg. She escaped to the top deck and tried to contact someone via the walkie-talkie, but feeling faint and with blurred vision, she looked through the window and saw a nearby boat. She waved her hands and screamed for help, but the sound of music from the party on the other boat drowned her out. Tucker appeared again, laughing when he saw her holding the camera like she was about to attack. Knowing she had no strength left, he just mocked her. Jeffy threw the camera into the sea and jumped overboard. As she passed out and began sinking, Tucker used a hook to pull her back up. Still worried about Jeffy's disappearance, Moses used an app that gave him access to security cameras along the coast and discovered a van passing by. Behind it, he zoomed in on the van's logo and found a phone number for Tucker's experience. Moses called but got no answer, so he left a voicemail. At the same time, Tucker returned to the dock to buy another camera. Deep was surprised to see him back earlier than usual. He mentioned a group of wealthy people interested in the experience tour and predicted big tips, hoping Tucker would share some commission. However, Tucker didn't care and seemed in a hurry. Moses had reached the dock and, due to heavy traffic in town, had more time to check around. Tucker, meanwhile, was distracted by a young, beautiful female tourist passing by. His usual target was solo travelers, as they would be missing for a while with no one to look for them. Moses boarded the boat and searched around, accidentally hearing knocking sounds coming from the boat's walls. He followed the noise and found a way to approach the source. Eventually, Moses discovered Jeffy, handcuffed to a bed, in a panic. He quickly called the police and looked for something to open the cuffs. As Moses was going up the stairs while on the phone, Tucker attacked him. The police answered, but Moses couldn't provide any details as Tucker beat him relentlessly. Tucker grabbed the phone and threw it away. Furious at the intruder on his boat, Tucker cornered Moses, raised the hook, and was about to land a fatal blow. But unexpectedly, Moses fought back, hitting Tucker with a bag and quickly turning the tables. Tucker was almost suffocating when Deep appeared, hitting Moses with an order to rescue him. However, now Jeffy was no longer gagged and began hearing her own screams for help. Deep started to realize that things were worse than he thought. But before he could comprehend that he'd just made a fatal mistake, Tucker coldly used the hook to stab the old man in the head. Tucker then bent over to check a map outlining the next horrifying course before locking Moses and Jeffy together. Moses apologized for failing to save her and tried to get her to open up. Jeffy said that when Moses came to rescue her, he had already become a real hero. At that moment, both felt the boat slow down, and just by looking at Jeffy's terrified expression, Moses understood that the next terrible thing was about to happen. Suddenly, Tucker appeared in the storage compartment to drag the two victims out. Jeffy was injected with a sedative and panicked when she woke up on the deck, seeing Moses hanging, just like Heather had been before. Deep's dismembered body lay on the floor. Trying to save Moses, she screamed that he wasn't a tourist but a local, that his family had money, and they would never stop searching for him if he went missing. But all her pleas were in vain. He slowly raised Moses toward the bow of the boat while sharks began to circle beneath. In one final attempt, Jeffy begged to swap places, saying that Moses was a good person and didn't deserve to die like this. Tucker mocked this romantic gesture and continued lowering Moses toward the water. The shark fins circled closely, and all Jeffy could do was tell Moses to stay calm, not to move, and gather all his strength to control his fear. He followed her advice and remained still among the sharks, which kept him from being attacked. Tucker fumed as he saw the sharks move away but wasn't ready to give up on the show. He pulled Moses back just to stab him a few times. Jeffy screamed in fury at the cowardly act, and the sharks returned as the scent of blood spread into the sea. Just then, Tucker suddenly stopped the crane and announced a break because a Coast Guard helicopter was flying over the area. He was forced to lock up the hostages again. Jeffy was still in shock over Moses' condition, determined to do whatever it took to escape the cuffs. Tucker came by once more, just as she managed to break her right thumb, suppressing the pain until he left. But even then, she couldn't get her hand out of the cuffs. With no other options, Jeffy took a horrific action. She bit off her thumb. When Tucker returned, he only found Jeffy's finger lying alone on the bed, unaware that she was hiding right behind the door. Jeffy immediately escaped, leaving Tucker behind, and ran to the cabin. There, she discovered that the boat was anchored near an island. While Tucker was trying to free himself, Jeffy found a flare gun and used it to slow him down, but it only momentarily halted him. Tucker quickly blocked her path and grabbed her leg. In that moment, Jeffy retaliated by hitting him in the face with a frying pan and stabbing him in the hand with a knife. Taking advantage of the opportunity, she jumped into the water and swam toward the island. Tucker only caught sight of her when the distance was too far for him to use the harpoon gun. He immediately used a speedboat to chase her. On the beach, a party was going on, but when Jeffy got closer, no one was around. She was too exhausted to shout for help. Eventually, she was caught by Tucker and dragged back to the boat. This time, Moses woke up in the cabin and screamed when he saw Jeffy hanging high, while a huge shark was approaching. Tucker was thrilled to recognize it as a great white shark. He lowered the sacrifice into the water with a face full of delight. The shark lunged at it, but fortunately, another shark appeared and fought for the meal, allowing Jeffy to remain safe. Tucker chased the smaller shark away but continued to offer the larger one the sacrifice. During this, he accidentally dropped the harpoon gun. Jeffy seized the chance and used the harpoon gun to free herself from the crane. Tucker, uninterested, continued filming, knowing that the more dramatic the victim's failure, the better it would look. Moses shouted a warning that the great white shark had returned, and there was a tense silence, which Tucker abruptly broke by threatening Jeffy, causing her to fall into the water. At that moment, just after she had managed to untie the ropes underwater, Jeffy froze in fear as she saw the monster circling her. She clutched her remaining hand to her thumb wound to prevent the blood from leaking out. The great white shark swam right past her and turned away, completely ignoring her presence. Tucker remained mesmerized by the creature, not knowing that Jeffy had quietly climbed back onto the boat. She slowly approached, grabbed another harpoon gun, and signaled Moses to stay silent until she found the perfect position. By the time Tucker turned around, it was too late. She pulled the trigger, and the harpoon shot straight into his stomach. Tucker fell into the water, groaning in pain as he tried to swim back to the boat. An invisible force from underwater pulled him down with incredible strength. Tucker looked around in desperation, and then the great white shark leapt from the depths of the ocean, biting into him with a devastating lunge. He only managed to surface once more to appear in the footage with his own camera before being devoured. Jeffy sighed in relief as she watched him sink, but the harpoon gun's rope was still wrapped around her leg, dragging her out of the boat once again. Moses screamed in panic until he passed out. Moments later, Jeffy resurfaced next to Tucker's lifeless body. The party boat passed by once again, and Jeffy quickly swam back to find the last flare gun. After many efforts, she noticed that the boat had started changing direction, heading toward her. Jeffy rushed down, shook Moses awake, and he choked out that he didn't want to live alone anymore. The film ends here. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Goodbye and see you again in the next films.